What's up, everybody? How we doing tonight? I'm doing the video tonight from upstairs because it is absolutely freezing in our house right now. It was gorgeous yesterday, and my wife was like, "Oh yeah, we'll just turn off the AC." And she's probably watching this as we speak. But just turn off the AC. We're gonna turn off the heat. We're just gonna, let it save some energy. Save some money on the bills. And woke up today and it's like 55 degrees in the house. I'm like, holy cow. And she's like, well, you're going to put on a sweatshirt. So here we are, long sleeve shirt, sweatpants. She did make me a hot chocolate. So thanks, babe, for that. I had a lot of people over the last couple, the last 24 hours really, that had started, asking me questions after I did the video yesterday. And one of the things that kept coming up that was reoccurring was, how do I actually go through this time period, without feeling, fear for what's going to be going on in the future and what's going on. And it brought up a topic that I've been reading a lot about, that in a couple of books that I've been reading lately and a couple of things that I've been watching. So I wanted to tell you guys some of my personal life stories and how that relates, and then what you can really do to live in love versus fear. And I'm going to tell you why that's relevant too. So the topic tonight is living in love versus living in fear. You're like, well, what does that mean, right? So let's dive into that a little bit. First thing is, every single emotion that human beings feel have to do, and they come from two core things. They come out of love, over here. Let's just say this is the good side. Or they come out of fear, over here. That's this side. And if you look at all these different emotions, I even wrote them down over here, so I'm going to look off my screen on my computer. But so love, peace, joy, contentment, serenity, forgiveness, anything that comes from that is out of love, right? And then you have stuff out of fear. Fear is, sadness, anxiety, depression, fatigue, guilt, blaming. All of those things come out of fear. So when you look at these two dynamics, and especially with what's going on right now, a lot of people are, reminded that, wow, there's a lot of things going on in the world that drive fear. And I think the big thing that a lot of people were talking to me about last night after I did my video was, how do we live through love in a time period that is so scary that, unemployment is through the roof. We have people that, bills aren't going to stop. No, they're not. Nobody's going to stop bills. So how do we live through love? And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So the first thing I want to do is kind of tell a story, because that's what I am, right? I like writing stories. I like reading good stories. When I watch movies, it's all about the story behind the movie, right? So for me, a couple of stories of faith in terms of, faith in regards to just knowing that things are going to work out. Let's go back to when I was living in Iowa, because a lot of you guys watching may have been from Iowa when I lived there. And I was at an employer that, was extremely good, and they took great care of me. I enjoyed my job, and I was on the fast track, to take more promotions. And I did a lot of thinking, and I jumped ship and decided to move to Kansas City, which is where a lot of you right now that might be watching are from as well. And I took the jump without having anything set in place for me. And it was a decision made out of love, for knowing that things are going to happen the way they should and how they should, and knowing that I can't just hold myself back. And I wanted to get into a field, which is fitness, where I could really pursue my passion and help people in a way that, was unparalleled. That's something I'd never done before, because I wasn't doing that where I was at. And I took a leap of faith. And I jumped, and I moved to Kansas City, got to live out of my uncle's basement for a while. And it was just, I was very grateful for that. And I actually got into the fitness industry a couple months later, walked right up to the general manager of 24 Hour Fitness, Rick. If you ever see this, Rick, I just want to say, hey, I hope you're still doing well in Colorado. And I had a sit down conversation with Rick, and I said, hey, I want to get in fitness. I want to change people's lives. And he said, all right, let's talk. So we talked for 2 hours. It was a great conversation. The very next week, I was hired on as a sales manager in training at a fitness facility with 24 Hour Fitness. And it was so heartwarming to have that happen, where, I took that leap of faith, and all of a sudden I moved to a new city, didn't have a job lined up, and I just had what was in my savings account to hold me over. And it got me into an industry like 6-7 years down the road where I'm still in there, and I've changed so many lives for the positive side. And that's kind of what I want to relate back to tonight with love versus fear, and how you live in love versus fear in a scenario like right now where a lot of things are unsure, is you got to make those decisions through love. And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into that right now. So another scenario was, when I was with 24 Hour Fitness still, and 9 months into it, I got a phone call from the regional vice president, and he said, "Hey, I want you to be a general manager with us in Colorado." Because I had told him I wanted to go to Colorado, and he's like, "By the way, the job opening that we have, you have 2 weeks to get out here." Any of you, if you know, put a comment on the comments if you've had this issue before. I had 2 weeks to move from Kansas City to Colorado with my wife, and she was like, "Brian, there's no way in hell that we're going to be able to sell our house, find a house to buy, and get situated in 2 weeks. Not possible." And I said, "Babe, we got it." And so put a for sale sign in my grass. Didn't even have a realtor yet, guys. I didn't even have a realtor yet. And just put the for sale sign in. There was an estate sale across the street, okay? An estate sale was across the street that very day. And this car drives by, and I'm mowing my lawn. And he stops. I'm like, it's the middle of summer. I don't even have my shirt on. "What's up, Carlos? How are you, dude? Nice to see you. I missed you at the gym." But I'm in the yard mowing my lawn. And this guy comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, I saw your for sale sign. How long has it been on the market?" I was like, "I literally put this sign up 30 minutes ago. "Orlando, that's awesome." And so I said, "Yeah, I don't have the house ready, but if you want to see it, let's do it," right? So going back to living in love, right? So I just put the sign up just to get things started. And he went into the house, he loved it, and he saw it, and he's like, "Can I bring my wife by tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So he brought his wife by, he brought his uncle by, who was, in real estate, looked over the house, and literally within 48 hours, guys, I didn't have a realtor, nothing. Within 48 hours, that house, and it wasn't in a high, visibility market area, sold. 48 hours. And I'm like, "Babe, we just sold our house." She's like, "What?" "Yeah, we sold our house." Holy crap. "What do you mean we sold our house?" I was like, "Babe, well, you just have to believe. You just have to believe." And Carlos, I'm missing you, dude. When you get back to Kansas City after this all gets done, let me know. But so we sold the house in 48 hours, guys, without a realtor. Crazy. An estate sale caused it. So then Colorado was the other side of that, right? We had 2 weeks to move to Colorado and find a house. I went out to Colorado and met, a gentleman I'll talk to him a little bit after this call here. You are, Justin. But Justin Martin was actually used to work at 24 Hour Fitness. He was a realtor out there. He's like, "Hey, I'll hook you up." So we went and looked at 13 houses. And looked at 13 houses in one day. My wife couldn't go out there, and she's like, I'm like, "Babe, do you trust me to make a decision on buying a house?" Anybody ever made a decision that large? Just put a comment in there if you made a decision that large. I actually had to look at houses, and my wife had to have faith that my decision on a home was going to be the best for me and her. Guys, that's a $300,000 decision that my wife had the faith through love, knowing that I had her best interests at heart, and she let me buy a house. We bought a house. We got to Colorado in under a week. Sold our house in Kansas City, moved to Colorado. If that's not living through love and faith, I don't know what is. I mean, it was phenomenal. So let's relate that back to everybody watching, everybody that's going to watch this later. For you, one of the things I really love, if you haven't seen something with Simon Sinek before, Simon Sinek is a phenomenal speaker on leadership, on, coaching and mentality. And he actually put out a post yesterday. I think it was yesterday, where he talked about positivity versus optimism. Guys, these are two completely different things. And it's the same kind of avenue as love and fear. And it's optimism. So Nick bought the house without me stepping foot in it. I love it, dude. See, you just got to live through that partnership and determination. It's the same thing with what we're going through right now on a bigger scale. So going back to that, with Simon Sinek in his video that he did, he talked about being optimistic. You can be positive in this scenario, guys. I'm not telling you to be positive, and neither is he when he did this video. And he was talking about being optimistic. Positivity is when you pretend that nothing's wrong when things are actually wrong. So let's be real. Things are shit right now. Pardon my French. There's a lot of crap going on right now. We can't just pretend it's not there. That's being positive, which is good in its own way. Being optimistic is having faith and living through love, knowing that what you're going through right now, A, is either helping you learn something that you need to learn and grow through personally, or B, knowing that, or both, knowing that what's going on right now is setting you up to get you in a position that's going to help you in the future. And when a lot of stuff goes down that we don't like in our lives, breakups, divorces, lost my job. I had my best friend, I'm not going to mention names, best friend, lost his boss came up to him and said, "Hey, this isn't a performance conversation, but this isn't the job for you. I can tell." And you know what? It was the best conversation he ever had, because the very next job he got was the job he wanted to be in. And it was, there's just stuff like that happens, guys, that you can't explain. And when you live through love, that's what happens. And so you want to live through optimism, and that optimism is knowing that what's going to happen in the future is going to be right for you at the right time. And as long as you put in the work and effort on your side, you're going to get to where you need to be at. The path may not be what you thought it was, but it's going to happen the way it should happen. And so I want to kind of relate this back to a story when I enlisted in the military 3 years ago in the Air Force. And it was a time in my life where, so I'm 33 now, I was 30, and it was another leap of faith. It was, I made the decision in love because I was missing something in my life, and it was helping other people on a greater scale. Kind of like, that's why I'm writing the book that I'm writing now. And it was to help other people, help build meaningful relationships. And I enlisted in the military, and it sounds kind of cliche, but I enlisted to help people. I enlisted to change lives. And it was a decision made out of love. And that decision, was rough for me and for my family, especially because it put me in hindrance with my current employer at the time. And I actually left the employer because we didn't agree eye to eye on some things. And that was a big part of it. And I realized when I went to, if any of you watching have been to boot camp before, holy shit, guys, boot camp will give you a whole different perspective on life. I went into it at 30 years old, and I've never prayed so much in my life, first of all. Secondly, you have a lot of free time because you don't have any sort of phone, you don't have any electronics. You literally are getting yelled at all day, every day, and getting put through the grind for 8 weeks, 9 weeks. And I did a lot of, self-reflection when I was there, and I realized, and this is really back to the point, this is where this gets nailed home, is before I went to boot camp, and I was at the job I was at, I was resentful for my boss at the time. I resented a lot of what happened between us. I resented how people were treated and things were done. And I don't want to give a lot of detail because it's not fair, but I had a lot of resentment in my life, and I had a lot of anger and hate. And I realized stepping out of it, once I got out of it, I realized that one big thing when you're living through love versus fear, guys, is that when you live through love, you change how you approach things in life. And I'll give you one thing right now, whether you believe this or not, it's true. And you can even try it on your own. Everything that you think about organically is drawn to you. So if you think about think about cars. If you have a car that you just bought and you're extremely excited about this, so let's say you bought a new Corvette, and it's that candy apple red Corvette. How many Corvettes are you going to see on the road after you buy a brand new Corvette? A lot, right? Every single Corvette you see, you're like, oh, there's a Corvette right there. Why? Because you're thinking about it. It's on your mind. That happens in life, living through love versus living through fear. When you live through love, you attract positive people, you attract positive energy, you start to notice things in life happen the way they should for you. When you're positive and all of your decisions are made through love. When you live through fear, so when you play the blame game, when you resent people, when you act out of hatred, when you do that blame game and you live out of that position of fear, guess what happens? You attract people and energy that's negative. You attract, that resentment even more so. And then all of a sudden you're in a downward spiral, and you hate where you're at in life, and you have anxiety, and then you have body aches and pains, and you don't know why. And it's because of the fact that you're living through fear. And all of us are guilty of that. I mean, it's not like I'm perfect and you're not perfect. And it's something that isn't, once you get that mindset, it's not like you're always going to be living out of love versus fear, because it's a day-to-day battle. And I have a tattoo that's from Final Fantasy VII. For those of you that are nerds out there, I have a good versus evil tattoo that goes all the way across my arms and my chest. And it's a daily reminder, the good side versus the bad side, that you, yes, I'm pointing at every single one of you, myself included, you make the choice to live through love or fear. You can be like, oh, prime example right now, COVID-19. We are stuck in our houses for over a month, guys. We have no income, a vast majority of us, or very little income, or we're waiting on unemployment checks. You can look at that one of two ways. You can look at it from a position of fear, be like, I hate this, the government's doing this, China sucks, I want to have my normal life back, I miss my family, this is stupid, I can't believe I have to sit and watch Netflix and they ask me if I'm still watching when of course I'm still watching because I'm taking care of my son while my wife is working upstairs, and I've watched every single Disney Plus movie and every single Netflix movie on Netflix and Disney Plus. You can look at it that way. And I'm not gonna judge that. And that's fine. You're gonna see negative things come from that. You're gonna feel anxiety. Or you can go this way. You can live in love. And you go, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And I am a true believer in that, whether you are or not, irrelevant. If you're not, that's fine. I mean, that's your decision. I'm okay with that. And that's me giving you that out of love. But I am a firm believer that everything happens in life for a reason. And you can look at it that way too. And, you know, I've had numerous breakups in my life. I've dated, you know, I don't even know my number, 12 people. And every breakup I had, it was, oh, my life's ending. I can't believe this happened. And I look back on it afterwards, a year later going, holy cow, why was I even, torn up about that? And I learned some things from that relationship. A lot of things. I'm going to give my wife a little bit of shout out right now. I'm going to give my wife a shout out. I hope she's watching this. I went through a bunch of bad relationships, and every single one, I learned things that I did wrong, that they did wrong, and I put those in a little bank. And when it finally got to the point that I met my wife, this would be a cool story for you guys. I met my wife on Plenty of Fish. It's a free app. It's a dating app or a hookup app, however you want to look at that. John, what's going on, sir? I miss you at the gym. Nice to see you. And so I met my wife on Plenty of Fish, guys. And this is another leap of faith that I did through love, okay? And she favorited me. And when she favored me, I didn't even realize I still had the app, guys. And so she favored me on Plenty of Fish, and I said, you know what? What have I got to lose? I just moved to Kansas City, that other leap of faith that I had, and I was like, I'm gonna see what happens. I'm not gonna put too much into it, and I'm gonna, just shoot her a note and shoot her straight. Which, by the way, guys, I know this is completely irrelevant to this video, but in the book that I'm writing, I talk about being genuine and upfront, and this is what I said to her. I said, hey, nice to meet you. I saw you favored me. I just wanted to say, I got a lot going on in my life right now, and I'm not here for a hookup. Don't need that. And secondly, I see we have a ton in common. I'd love to get to know you. I'm going to be really busy. I'm not going to lie to you. But if you're okay with getting to know me a little bit better, I'd love to meet you and sit down and just get to know each other. Just shot her straight. She shot me a message back. I think she waited like 5 minutes so I wouldn't think that she was too eager. And she was like, yeah, sure. All about leaps of faith, John. And I mean, every leap of faith I've ever taken, always been phenomenal, and it's turned out good. But I shot that out to her in a leap of faith. Guess what? She said, yes, I would love to get to know you. Because she was at the same point I was. And we got to know each other for about a week. We had our first date. Saw the movie Frozen, by the way, if anybody likes Disney's Frozen. Frozen 2 is actually pretty good too. And we got married to that theme as well. And we never looked back. And the things that I learned from those prior relationships that I could have, when I had those breakups and I could have lived in fear and hatred and resentment, I actually took a learning experience from that and said, you know what? There's something that I was supposed to take away from these relationships, because the person that's in front of me right now is who I want to be with the rest of my life. And I learned from all those scenarios that happened to me that were bad scenarios, and I used it to create a relationship with my wife that was concrete and had that connection, that faith with each other. And we've never looked back, guys. Never, not one day since I've been married have I ever doubted whether or not we were meant for each other. Not one day. So those of you that maybe are looking for someone, or you're not married, or you haven't found that person, there's no way to explain, and I know this is a little off topic, I apologize, but there's no way to explain what true love is like. There's two types of true love. One with your spouse. You'll know. You'll just know. Secondly is the love of a child. I had my first one, obviously he's 14 months now. We have the second on the way, and guys, living through love, kids will definitely teach you how to live through love. It's completely different than anything I've ever experienced. So back to the point, I kind of want to recap through this. Give me your comments, guys. What are your thoughts on this? If you hate it, great. I'll sit here and, I'll have an adult conversation. I'd love to kind of chat about it because I love seeing other points of view. If you love what we're talking about, awesome. I want to also go through stuff like this moving forward just to kind of help during this downtime. So if anybody has things, like I said in my video yesterday, if you have things you want to talk to just personally, or you want me to talk about on videos, more than happy to give expertise on that and just kind of walk through it with you, because that's why we're here, is to help each other out. So living through love instead of fear. You could live, so one last thing, through COVID-19 and being quarantined. You could live through fear and hoard, toilet paper. What? But you can do it. You can hoard toilet paper. You could buy, 8 years worth of food. And you could, not talk to anybody ever. And obviously you still want to talk to people, just mind your social distancing. But you can live in fear of not knowing what's going on. And that's the whole point of this video tonight, guys, is you have two options, and it's your choice. It's not your mom's choice. It's not God's choice. It's not anybody else's choice. It is your choice. You can either live in fear and, have doubts, or you can live through love, and you can go, hey, why has this been put in front of us? What is there that is going on right now that I need to look at and do in my life that I haven't done and I've put on the back burner? What is maybe you haven't spent enough time with your family. Guilty. I've spent more time with my son in the last 2 weeks than the entire time that he's been alive prior to that. Guys, that's pathetic. I mean, I'm just being real with you here. It's pathetic. And it's sad. And, that's what life is, but this is giving me time to be with my son. It's given me time to, do a lot of things that I never thought I would ever have the time to do. But you have that option, guys. You have that option. And that option is you can live in fear or you can live in love. And every single decision you make has to be one or the other. It can't be both. If you think about that, if you make a decision in fear, can love be present? No, probably not. If you make a decision out of love, can fear be present? No. So when you're looking at someone that maybe you're resenting, or that you're like, God, why is that person doing what they're doing? That is so dumb. Stop yourself right there and go, do I know this person? No. Do I understand their background? No. And their history? No. Why am I judging? I'm going to close with this. There's a lot of fear out there, guys. And, whether you're religious or not, I think one thing remains the same, and that's that hope is something that is absolutely necessary. And the other thing that I've noticed in my life, kind of going through all this, and if you watch the video halfway through, go back to the beginning, because there's a lot of great scenarios. And I hope you can relate with the story that you had. But when you live through love and you take those leaps of faith and you view with the lens, if you view the world through the lens that everything's an opportunity, and that ultimately everything that happens to you is it's not about what happens to you, it's how you react once it happens. If you live through that positive lens of love, I guarantee you, try it. Try it. If I'm wrong, shoot me a hate note. Let me know. But I guarantee you, if you live through love, especially during these times, and especially after, your whole life will change. And I'm going to close with this. I was watching, I just started watching or listening, I guess, to an audiobook. And I can talk offline if you want to know the audiobook. But in the audiobook negative thoughts are like dirty laundry for sure, Omar. But in that audiobook, the gentleman that's in there, he said this. He had a story, and he was like, you know what? I'm not perfect, and he actually talks on living through love. And he said, I was actually about to speak to thousands of people, And I was in the bathroom, and it was in a pretty low income area in a third world country, and the urinal is smelled, and there's a gentleman in the urinal that was handing paper towels or something like newspapers to people to help them clean up afterwards, and they expected a tip afterwards, right? And he shook his head and goes, "Why do you expect a tip for that?" And in his head he was processing that thought, and he goes, "You know what?" I stopped myself right there, and I went, "Why am I judging this right now? I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know anything about what his scenario is. Maybe he has 10 kids. I have 8, and the guy, not me, the guy in the video has 8. He said maybe he's trying to help his family out and he has no other choice." And I know this part isn't related to COVID-19 and the pandemic we're going on right now, but when you get out of this, guys, when we're in an issue like this, 9/11, things like that, we come together, which is phenomenal. I've seen a bunch of great things where everybody comes together, but it's when we aren't in trials and tribulations where our country tends to fall apart. And what I want everybody to take away from this is when we do get back to normalcy, because it's going to happen, live your life through love and make decisions based on love, caring, and genuine understanding. Because if you do that, you will attract so many positive changes in your life that you'll thank me for it later. And I'm hoping that's the case. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. If you didn't get to watch the whole video, once this comes back, watch the whole thing all the way through. Let me know your thoughts. If there are things that are on your mind right now, like I said in my video yesterday, this is why I'm doing this. If there's things on your mind that you just want to just have somebody listen and talk through, hit me up. Facebook message, email. If you want to call me, let me know. And if you want me to talk on something like I did tonight, because I had so many people going, how do I deal with a time where there's so much uncertainty going on? And you have to do it through love and not fear. And then that's when you have that, it'll change your inside persona. But if you have things like that you want me to talk about, let me know. Shoot me a note. I hope you guys are having a great night. I hope you're warmer than I am. I'm in a sealed room upstairs in the highest level of the house with my hot cocoa. Thanks, babe, again, because she didn't want to turn on the heat, and we just turned it on. She let me turn it on like 2 hours ago, guys. But I hope you guys have a great night. We'll talk to you soon. Stay blessed.